good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Introduction to PowerPoint. I do have the question and answer up, so if any time you have some questions for me or you want me to clarify something, don't hesitate to ask. My name is Julie, and like I said, for the next hour, we'll be looking at some of the introductory options that PowerPoint has to offer. So when you initially begin a PowerPoint presentation, I'm just going to go ahead and go to File and New to show you what you'll see. At this point, you can select a blank presentation, or you have several different background slides that you can choose from. And you can do that from New, or you can select a blank presentation. And those options are also underneath what we call the design ribbon. So there's two different ways that you can select your background. At the top, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the ribbons, and we'll do a short tour of PowerPoint before we actually get started. So at the top, we have all of our ribbons, the home ribbon, the insert ribbon, the design ribbon, transitions, animations, slideshow, review, view, and developer. Today, over the next hour, we will be looking at the home ribbon, the insert ribbon, design, transitions, animations, and of course, slideshow. So I'm going to go ahead and start back here at home. And what I have is just a blank slide. And when you bring up your blank slide, it defaults to this layout. Now you can always change those layouts, and you can add things, so no worries there. So the first thing I want to do is to create my title slide. But before I do that, I think I'm going to skip over here to design, and we'll go ahead and select a background for our PowerPoint presentation for today. As I hover my mouse over all of the different options, you can see that it gives you a live preview. So if I say maybe I like this light blue, I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then what I can do from there is, if I want it to be maybe a little bit darker, I can go to some different variants. So let's say that you like the design of the background, but you don't like the blue. You can come over to variants and change that very easily. So I'll just go ahead and select blue warm right here, and we'll use that one for our presentation today. What I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to create my title slide. And the easiest thing that I'd like to tell people to do is, if you're creating your first PowerPoint presentation, or if you're not familiar with the software, the easiest thing to do is to create a PowerPoint presentation about yourself. So I'm just going to title this The Life of Julie. Now, when I select my background, PowerPoint automatically assigns the various backgrounds a font that they think complements that background. However, you can change that if you want to. So just like if you were in Microsoft Word or any other application, I'm going to go ahead and highlight The Life of Julie. And I can come underneath the font group and change that to maybe Times New Roman. And I can increase or decrease my font size. If I don't want it to be in all caps, I can tell it that I want to capitalize each word. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for. Now you'll note that within this text box, I can left align, I can center, I can right align, or I can justify. Now what I like to tell people is that when I center my text, you keep in mind that it's centering to the text box, not to the slide. So what I typically do is I increase the size of my text box, and I can do that by hovering my mouse over any one of these handlebars. And note that I'll get an arrow to the east and the west. I'm just going to pull out to the edge of my slide. I'm going to do that on both sides. And that way I know that my text is centered to the slide as well. I'm going to go ahead and increase that maybe just a little bit. You know, you've got all of this room here, so make sure that you're using up as much room as you want to. Now, if I want to move this text box from one place to another, for instance, I think it would look a little bit better if I moved it up on the slide. I can hover my mouse over the frame of the text box, and I'm going to get these 4 arrows, and I'm going to click, and I'm just going to drag up a little bit so that it's at the top of my screen. Okay, so then I can come down and I can add a subtitle if I would like to. So we'll just put in there Duke space presentation, and today is August 14th, 2020. And then again, I can change my font, my size, my color. I'm going to go ahead and make these two complement one another. So I'm going to tell it that I want to use Times New Roman again. Maybe increase my font size a little bit. I can change that font color to white. And then again, I can move this anywhere I want to on my slide. Oops, come here. There we go. So I've just got a nice little chat. Go. Title slide. Put that over there. And the other thing that you'll notice is when we start adding some pictures, we're going to go ahead and go on to a second slide. But PowerPoint gives you some recommendations as to how to design your slides. So really, you don't need to have any creativity whatsoever because PowerPoint allows you to be creative from all of the options that it offers you. All right, so there's my first slide. To obtain a second slide, I'm just going to go underneath the slides group to new slides, and you can see that it has all these different design layouts. Now again, it doesn't matter which one you choose because you could change these designs if you would like to. So I'm just going to go ahead and maybe select just a title only. So I have my next slide, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in there maybe an agenda of what I intend to have on my PowerPoint presentation. So we have the life of Julie, and now I'm just going to add some other things, maybe like growing up, college, places I have lived, favorite vacation spots, and the last one will be sports. Okay, so I have kind of my agenda here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to somewhat mimic what I did on the first slide. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight these 5 options. I'm going to change my font to Times New Roman. I'm going to tell it that I want each word to be capitalized. And you can go in and change that a little bit if you want to. And then I'm just going to increase my font size. So we've got a little bit of an agenda. So we know what we want to do, when we're presenting to folks, then they'll know what you have coming up in your presentation. Now, if I want to, I'm going to go ahead and highlight those again. You can add bullets to it if you want to. So I can just come over here and add bullets, or if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but that option is there. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this slide just like that for just a little bit, and we'll come back to it. So now we have our second slide. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a third slide, and I'm just going to grab that title slide again. And the first thing that I'm going to talk about is growing up. So again, I'm going to take these same rules. I'm going to change it to Times New Roman. I'm going to tell it that I want to capitalize each word. I'm going to go ahead and grab those handlebars again and pull it out to the edge. And I can go ahead and center that. I'm going to move it up just a little bit. Okay, so we've added a lot of text. And what I want to look at now is adding some graphics to our slides. So I'm going to go over from the home ribbon. I'm going to click on the insert ribbon. And on the insert ribbon, you have a group called images. So you have pictures. So if you have pictures that you want to use in your PowerPoint presentation that are saved to your PC, you can click on that and bring those pictures in. I don't know if I have anything that's applicable for growing up. I'm just going to look around here for a minute. I know on my desktop I have, let's see, call PowerPoint. Where are you? There we go, PowerPoint pics. And I'm going to go ahead and we'll just grab a picture of a couple of my dogs. Okay, so there's blue. And like I was saying earlier, PowerPoint gives you design ideas. Now, this isn't the only picture that I want to put on this particular slide. However, it will continue to give you design ideas. So if you want to use one of these, you can just come over here and click on one of those design ideas. You can see what it would look like when you use that. But I'm going to go ahead and just undo that, and we'll reduce the size of that picture, and we'll go ahead and we'll go in and add another one. So underneath the insert ribbon, of course, if you have pictures on your PC, you can search for those. However, if you want to do an internet search for pictures, there's an option here called online pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And Microsoft has joined forces with the search engine Bing. So I'm just going to put in here Central City, Iowa, and we'll see what pictures it comes up with. Let's see what we can find. A lot of these I can guarantee you are not actually from Central City, Iowa. This one obviously is, so I can go ahead and select that one. So I can insert a picture from here. And there is another picture. Now, when you use Bing, what happens is it also brings in this licensing. So you've got two different frames here. So you've got one for your picture and one for the licensing. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that and delete it. And again, you can see that it's still giving me design ideas. So I'm going to go back to the insert ribbon, back to online pictures. And this time, maybe I'll just type in Pane Ridge Park. Let's see what we can find. And there's a picture from within the park, so I'm going to go ahead and insert that one. Okay, so looking at inserting pictures, that's one approach that you can take to insert pictures. You can either take pictures that you have saved to your PC and insert them, or you can search for online pictures. Now, the other thing that I wanted to just share with you, I'm going to go ahead and open up a new window here, and I'm going to share with you how to transfer a picture from maybe Google or the internet to your PowerPoint if you want a wider variety of options. So I'm going to go ahead from Google, and I'm just going to maybe type in Pane Ridge Park again. And we'll skip over here to images. And it gives me a lot more images. Now, more than likely, you have never been to Pelican Ridge Park, but the ones that Google came up with are a lot more accurate than the pictures that Bing came up with. So in order to transfer one of these pictures from the internet to PowerPoint, what I did was I split my screen so I've got them side by side. And I'm going to go ahead and select one of these pictures, and then I'm just going to drag and drop it. So what I did, I'll go ahead and do that again for you. We'll select another picture. Once you've selected the picture, you'll want to hover your mouse over the picture, left click, and just drag and drop it onto your PowerPoint presentation. So those are 3 different ways that you can bring in pictures to your slide. Okay, let me go ahead and increase this again. Oops. All right, so it's telling me now that they don't have any design ideas for me, and it could be that I added too many pictures. So let me go in, let's just get rid of a few of them and see if there we go. Now it's going to generate some ideas for me. So rather than me sitting here and moving these pictures around and trying to make them, look the best that they can on my slide, PowerPoint does the work for me. So I can just come over here and click. That looks pretty nice. It's got all kinds of different options for designs for you that you can select from. I'm going to go ahead and just let's see. Yeah, I'll use that one. So we'll use this design. Note that when I used one of these designs, that it reverted back to what PowerPoint thinks I should be using for my font and my size. So sometimes it's easier to bring your pictures in first. I can very easily change that. But just to let you know, sometimes it's easier to change it first before you bring in your pictures, or bring in your pictures first. Okay, so now I have 4 different pictures on here. So that is growing up. I'm going to go ahead and just add one more new slide because I want to show you some other options that you have with pictures. And here. Okay, so that is the title of my 3rd slide, which is Iowa State University. I'm going to go ahead and change that back to Times New Roman, increase the size a little bit. I'm going to pull out to the edges. Maybe I want to center this, and I want to capitalize each word. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the insert ribbon, and I'm going to use the pictures online from Bing. And I'm just going to, oops, wrong one, online pictures, and go to Iowa State University. Now, when you're using Bing, another option that's really nice about it is that I don't have to bring in one picture at a time. So if I want to select some pictures from Iowa State, I can insert as many pictures as I want to from these options. So I have 3 pictures selected. Note that it says insert and it has a 3 in parentheses. So when I click on that, it brings all 3 in at once for me. And it gives me my design ideas again, but I want to show you something else. So I'm just going to go ahead and reduce the size of these a little bit, one at a time, so you can see my screen. Okay, where's my other picture? There it is. If we increase the size of this one a little bit, go ahead and get rid of that. Okay, so when I insert these pictures, you may have noted earlier that I now have a new ribbon, and that ribbon is called Picture Format. And this is really a lot of fun as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select one of my pictures. I'm going to come over here to Picture Format. Now, when I was reducing the size of these pictures, I was using the handlebars. And I use the handlebars from either the top right or left or the bottom right or left. And I do that because then it's increasing or decreasing the size of the picture proportionately. If I go to the side, see how it makes it, it's not proportionate when I use the ones on the side. So if you're not a mouse person, on the picture format, note that in the upper right-hand corner, I have the ability to come up here and tell PowerPoint, okay, I'm going to change my height to maybe 5. When I hit the Enter key, it's automatically going to change the width. So again, it will change it proportionately. So there's my picture. I can go ahead and punch any number in there that I want to. So that's the size group. But what I want to focus on next is looking on the picture format and the picture styles. So when I select this, I can put a border around it. I can change the shape of it. It's got all kinds of different options here, and I'm just going to use the live preview to go across and show you some of these options. So once you find the border or the picture format that you want to use, I'm going to go ahead and just use this rotated white. Let's say that maybe you want to have a different picture frame border or a different color. Then I can come over here and I can go to picture border and use this color palette to select a different color of the frame that I want to use. So we'll just go ahead and select that. Okay, so here's my second picture. I can go ahead and make some adjustments to that. Add a border to it. Let's see. There we go, that looks nice. I'm going to go ahead and change my border. Maybe we'll just grab a red to complement those fall colors. And then again, if you want to add, that's kind of cool, we'll use that. So that's one way that you can manipulate the pictures on your own. If you don't want to use PowerPoint suggestions, you can go in and you can manipulate those yourself. Okay, so now we have 4 different slides here. Let's go ahead before we move on. Let's take a look at some different options that we have. Okay, so right now I have 4 slides, and if I were to go to my slide presentation, so when you go to present your PowerPoint, you're going to want to do one of 2 things. You don't want to present in this mode. Right now we're in what they call the normal mode. And if you go down to the bottom, you have normal, you have a slide sorter view, which we're going to look at here in just a minute. You have the reading view and you have the slideshow view. So in order to begin your presentation, you can either come down here and click on slideshow, or you can go to the slideshow ribbon and you can tell it that you want to begin the show from the beginning. Now note that the keyboard shortcut is F5. So if I hit the F5 key, it will begin my presentation. Now it went to, let me just change something here real quick. I'm going to do a different share. It went on a different screen of mine. So I'm just going to share a different screen real quick. And we'll go ahead and click through that. Here are my slides. Okay, so that's what we have so far. And let me go ahead and switch this back. We'll come over here. All right, so you saw when I was going from slide to slide that there was no transition, and it was kind of just a blunt going from slide to slide. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come over here to my slide sorter view. And in my slide sorter view, it allows me to add a transition. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my transitions ribbon, and you can see that it has multiple transitions for you to choose from. So I'm going to go ahead and select slide number 1, and I'm just going to click on a few of these. It gives you a live preview. It has not applied, oh, it did apply that, but I can change it. So note that you can go through and look at all these different transitions. Yes, PowerPoint can take up a lot of your time because there are so many options for you to look at. So not only when I'm clicking on these, that one that I just selected last was shape. Once I've selected my transition, now I can come over here and I can tell it if I want to add a sound. I can tell it how long I want the transition to last. So if I want it to be a little bit longer, I can increase the duration. If I want it to be shorter, I can decrease the duration. And next to that, you have something called on mouse click or after. So you can put timings, you can time your slides. However, if you're doing a live presentation, I would not recommend that you do that because you don't know during a live presentation how fast you're going to talk, or somebody's going to ask you a question, maybe you trip over something. You don't want the PowerPoint presentation going on. You want to go ahead and I would suggest that you leave it on click mouse so that you are in control of the slides and when they advance. Okay, so I have this selected. So the number 1 selected, and I have a transition on that, and I know that because it's got a little star in the lower right-hand corner. Now you can do one of two things. You can select a different transition for each one of your slides if you want to, or if you like the transition, and this is what I typically do if you're putting together a professional presentation, I would encourage you to do this. Find the transition that you would like to use and come over here underneath timings and click on apply to all. So when I do that, you'll note that a little star will show up underneath each one of my slides, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to go ahead and click on apply to all, and there's my transition. Okay, now go ahead and close some of this other stuff up that I have open. There we go. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to go into, I realize that you're just looking at my background, but I'm going to go ahead and go into slideshow. Okay. Gonna have to switch screens again. So let me take you to screen 2, and we will go ahead and begin the presentation again. Let's see what we've got now. So you can see the transitions. In order to move on to the next slide, I'm just going to go ahead and click. Okay, let me go ahead and come back to my other screen. So that just shows you a little bit of what the transitions look like once you have gone through your presentation. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the sound off of all of them. I'm going to say no sound and apply to all. So those are your transitions. Again, if you want to do a time, let's say that you're putting together a video. You can put together videos with PowerPoint, or maybe you're just putting together a collage of pictures that you want to show at a graduation party or an anniversary party, whatever the case may be. You could put one picture on each slide and tell it that you want each slide to go for maybe 10 seconds. There we go. And if you want that to happen, you can apply that to each one of your slides. And if I were to go back into my slideshow, each one of these would show for exactly 10 seconds. But I'm going to go ahead and take that off because we don't want that. We want it to be on a mouse click, apply to all. So that's a little bit about transitions. And something that you want to play around with. You see that you've got many more. If I click on the down arrow, it will give you different options to choose from. So you'll want to take some time to go through and look at those. Okay, the next thing I wanted to look at is something called animations. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change my views. And if I want to change my view back to normal, there's a couple of ways that you can do that. I can double click on any one of my slides, or down here in the bottom, I can click on the normal view and it will take me back so that I have kind of a working area with the thumbnail of my slides over here. All right, so let's go over to the transitions. I'm going to come down to some of my pictures, or no, animations, I mean, excuse me. So when I went to the animations ribbon, note that all of these are grayed out. And the reason for that is that I don't have any of my pictures selected. So what I'm going to do, and you can put animations on pictures or text and or both. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with growing up. And I'm going to put some animations on these. I'm just going to tell that I want it to fly in, okay? And when I do that, it gives me the number 1, meaning that now when I'm going into my slide presentation, when I click onto the slide, it will show me all of my pictures, but I'll have to click again for growing up. So what I want to do is to put some anticipation into this for my audience. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put an animation on not only growing up, but on each one of my pictures. So I have growing up that I'm going to select my first picture, which is Central City, and I'm going to go ahead and apply an animation to it. So now you can see I have a 1 and a 2. We'll go ahead and select a third picture and a fourth item. And again, if I click on the down arrow, it gives me more options. So I can, let's see, I kind of like the float in. We'll take our last picture and maybe we'll have that zoom. Okay, so now I have 5 different animations, starting with growing up, moving over to Central City, and all the way over to the picture with the paddle boat. If you want to look at your animation pane, underneath Advanced Animation, I can click on Animation Pane, and it will show me my 5 pictures, my 5 animations, I should say. If you want to change the order of these, you can very easily do so. So let's say that I decide I want growing up to be my last animation. I can go ahead and click and hold down on my mouse and pull that down. See the little orange bar in between? And if I let up after picture 4, it now reordered all of these. When I go to my slideshow, which we'll do here in just a second, it's going to bring in picture number 1, 2, 3, 4, and growing up, my text will be last. So let me go ahead and share a different screen with you again. I'm going to go into my slideshow and tell it that I want it to be from the beginning. So we can see we've got our transitions there. And here's the slide where we just put the animations on. So I'm going to go ahead and click. It will bring in my first picture. I can click again and I can bring in my next picture. So in other words, what this will allow you to do is to talk about one item and then click to move on to another. So I'm going to go ahead and click and click and click, and that kind of shows you what the animation will do for you in PowerPoint. See, let me go ahead and switch back here to my other screen. There we go. Okay, so that's some of your animations. And I'm just going to, let's go ahead and see, growing up, places I've lived. So my next slide is places I've lived. So I'm going to go back to the home ribbon and to new slide. We'll just grab that. Well, let's grab a blank slide. Show you how to work with a blank slide. So let's say that you have a blank slide, or you have a slide, but you want another text box. Where would you get that text box from? Underneath the insert ribbon. And in the insert ribbon so far, we've looked at images. If you come all the way over to text, you can insert a text box. So I'm just going to click on text box, click on my slide, and it will allow me to start typing. I'll just put in places I've lived. Again, I can go ahead and highlight that, change my font and the size. Okay, so we use pictures on the first couple. Maybe I want to just make a list of places that I've lived rather than bringing in pictures. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go back to insert. I need another text box. So I'm going to go to insert and to text box. And we'll just go ahead and click, and I can start typing. Okay, so I have my list of places that I have lived. And again, I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. We'll go back to our times, make it a little bit bigger. If I want to put bullets on there, I certainly can do that. So there are my bullets. Let's see. Okay, so you can put animation on this list as well. So if I want these to come in one at a time, I can go back to my animations, select the first one that I want to bring in, which is going to be Central City. So I'm just going to have that fly in, and it puts the number 1 there. I can go ahead and select each of these. Put an animation on each one. And there you have animation on that list. Okay, so, and that will work the same way that the pictures did. We'll look at this at the very end. So we'll look at everything that we've done. Again, I can go to my animation pane. I can reorder those if I want to. I can tell it that I want them to come in on click with previous. And what that means is if you want one to come in with, so in other words, if I clicked and Central City came in, then Ames would come in, and Des Moines would come in, and Omaha would come in, and Papillion would come in. If I did it with after the previous, they would come in a little bit faster than I wanted them to. So that's why I'm just going to use on click. Okay, so there is my list of places that I have lived. Now again, I can add pictures in here if I want to. So let's go ahead and go back to the insert ribbon. I'll just go back to online pictures. We'll see what we can find for Omaha, Nebraska. We'll grab a couple of pictures of Omaha and put them in our presentation. There we go. Gonna just reduce the size of these a little bit. Okay, so now I've got a couple of pictures as well, so I can put animations on those. So if I select my first picture of Rosenblatt, I can go ahead and go back to animations and have that come in, item number 6, and this looks like the old market, so we'll go ahead and have that come in. So if you want to go through maybe the places that you've lived and then focus on one area, you can do that, or I can bring some other pictures in as well. Okay, so let's go ahead. There's a couple of different ways that you can use PowerPoint. So far, what we're doing is we're looking at a linear presentation. So I'm using this, and we're just going to go from slide 1 to slide 2 to slide 3, and so on. But however, if you want this to be interactive, if you're putting something together that you want to be interactive, you are going to give this to somebody, and you want them to have the option of what slide they want to look at next. So when they come to the quote unquote agenda, you know, maybe they want to go to places I've lived first, and college second, and growing up next. So they can determine what information they want to look at next, meaning that it will be branched rather than linear when you're giving the presentation. So if this is an option that you would like to use, you can certainly do that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just select growing up. I'm going to come back over here to my insert ribbon, and underneath the insert ribbon, you have a grouping called links. Okay, so if I want to come in here and click on the down arrow, I can tell it that I want to insert a link, or the keyboard shortcut is Control K. Now, typically when we think about inserting a link, we're inserting a link from the internet, which you can do, and I'll show you how to do that. However, you can also insert a link within a document. So when I click on Place Within Document, it shows me all of my slides, my first slide, my last slide, you know, and my slide titles. So I want this to take me to the growing up slide. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. It shows me the slide preview so that I know I've selected the correct one. And I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Now you'll note that it now looks like a link that you would see on the internet. It has a line underneath it. It changed colors. I'm going to go ahead and link a few others before we look at all of the work that we've done. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select college. I'm going to go back up to link, select my last option, insert link, click on Iowa State University, and OK. And then we'll select places I have lived, back up to link, to insert link. There we go, there it is. And okay, so I now have 3 links. And I only have 3 links because we haven't created the slides for favorite vacation spots or or sports yet. All right, so let me go ahead. Let's look at what we have going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and share a different screen with you. I'm going to move this over to my different monitors. So I'll go to screen 2 and share, and I'm going to go ahead and begin the presentation. So here's my first slide. Here's my title slide. And then when I click, it brings me my second slide. But note that when I hover my mouse over growing up, college, or places that I've lived, it now gives me a little hand, meaning that these 3 options are linked to another place. So if I click on places I've lived, it automatically takes me to that slide. Now remember, we put on all kinds of animations, so I need to click to continue going on. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and hit the escape. I'm going to back out of this presentation because what we need to do, we've got a little bit more work to do in order for those links to work correctly. Because if you'll note, I went ahead and I clicked on places that I've lived, but I don't have any way of getting back to this slide. So what I need to do is I need to create a back button. So I'm going to go ahead and click on growing up. I'm going to go back to insert, and this time I'm going to insert maybe just a shape. And that shape is going to be an arrow. So I'll go ahead and select a back arrow. When I select any one of those shapes, it gives me just this, my mouse looks a little bit different. It gives me a plus sign, meaning that I can click and insert my arrow. Now, when I insert that arrow, you see I get another ribbon called shape format. So if I don't like the color of that, I can come in and change that. However, I think it looks pretty good. So we'll just go ahead and leave that. But note that you can make adjustments to any one of those shapes if you want to utilize it. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my insert ribbon. We're going to go back to links, insert link. And we want this back arrow to take us to this slide. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set up that link. Now you might be saying to yourself, do I have to do that for every single slide so it takes it back? The answer is no. I've already inserted the arrow. I have told it that I want it to go back to this particular slide. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to copy it. I'm just going to do a Control-C, or I can go back to my home ribbon and click on copy. And now I can go to each one of my slides and paste that on each one of my slides. And now I kind of have an interactive PowerPoint presentation as opposed to a linear one. So let's go back in. Switch screens again. There we go. And now here's our presentation. Okay, so now if I click on one of these options, oops, what did I do? Hang on, let me go back. There we go. Now if I click on one of these options, let's say I click on college, and it takes me to the Iowa State University slide. And I can click on the back arrow once I'm done with that slide, and it will take me back to my options, take me back to my different links. Okay, let's go ahead and come back to our other screen. Okay. So the next thing that I want to look at is underneath design, and you can see that these links, PowerPoint has defaulted to these are an active link is growing up, a followed link is college and places I've lived because we've clicked on those. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select those 3 items because I don't necessarily want them to be purple and blue when people click on them. And then I'm going to go over to, oops, it's not it. Where are you? Give me 1 second. Oh, here it is. Underneath design and underneath variants, I'm going to go ahead and click on that down arrow. I'm going to go to colors. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom and tell it to customize my colors. And when I do that, down at the very bottom, the last 2 options are a hyperlink and a followed hyperlink. So if I want these to consistently be white, I can change that in here. Regardless of whether somebody's clicked on it or not, I can go in and I can change the color of my links. Or let's say that I want the hyperlink to be white and I want the followed link to be a dark blue. I can select that. You can change this at any time that you want to. And you go ahead and click on save. And there's my change. Personally, I like it a little bit better if they're all white. There we go. Okay, let me see, what else haven't I looked at? Or in the Q&A, nobody's asked any questions yet. If there's something in particular that you want me to talk about or discuss, we've got some time left, but I'm just going to go through here and see what else I can show you while I'm waiting to see if there's any questions. So if you want to insert a link to an outside venue, so let's say that I'm going to go ahead and highlight Omaha, Nebraska, and then I'm going to go, sorry about that, I'm going to go back to insert and to link and insert link, and this time I'm going to have it take us to an existing web page. So I can just come up here and type in www.omaha.com. And when I click on OK, you can see that this is now a link. And when we click on that, it will take me to the omaha.com website. So you can have links that are inside of the PowerPoint or that link you outside to the outside world. And when you click on that, it will automatically open up your default internet browser and take you to omaha.com. You also have something called word art. Let me go ahead and we'll just go back to home for a second. I'm going to grab a blank slide so we can do favorite vacation spots, but let's jazz it up a little bit. I'm going to go back to insert to word art, and I'm just going to select any one of these. You can change it if you want to, and this allows you to put in something called word art. So let's use this one for favorite vacation spots. Got that in. If I want to change the fill of that, I can change the fill of it, or the back, I guess that's the back fill. That looks pretty nice. We'll just leave it the way it is. Just gonna bring this out to the edges again. And that is, again, underneath Insert and Word Art. So those are some different options for you. We've talked about all the different designs. We looked at all of our different transitions and our animations. Underneath Slideshow, you can go in and you can tell it that you want to look at the slideshow from the beginning, from the current slide. Excuse me. If you're going to record something, a presentation, you can rehearse your recordings in here. So it'll say, okay, maybe slide number 1, you want that to be on for 5 seconds. Slide number 2, you need that for 15 seconds, just depending on how long you're going to talk. But PowerPoint will give you an indication of how long you want to, how long the slides are going to be up. Each slide is going to be up. So that's underneath Slideshow. All right. Well, I think that is covers just a quick way of introducing PowerPoint to you. PowerPoint has a lot to offer. You just really need to get in there and play around with it. We do have a little bit of time left, so I'm going to go ahead and where's the chat? Chat. There's the chat. I have. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. How can I insert some background music into a slide? Gotcha, Jamie. I had that on a different window. So if you want to insert music, you can go to Insert and over here to Audio and Audio on my PC. And it will go in. I actually happen to have one here, so I can show you. Let me go to my first slide though. So audio on my PC, and then when you go to audio format, you've got some options. You want it to play across your slides more than likely, and I'm just going to tell it that I want to hide the little music indicator during the presentation. And if I go back to my presentation, the music will play as I'm clicking across. Okay? Any other questions? Thanks, Cynthia. All right, folks, happy Friday. Have a great afternoon. Thank you for joining me. If you do have any additional questions, feel free to email me. Oops, hang on, I can't see what I'm typing. Make that a little bit smaller so you can see it. There you go. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'd be happy to help you out. Have a great day and a safe weekend.